It is a brutal weather slate for tonight in MLB DFS. There are potential postponements in several spots, one place already postponed, and also even the places that will play. Some gross weather there, too, that may impact the way you view the bats. We're going to dive Vaughn in, get you set for tonight, and answer your questions for Friday's MLB DFS slate. Welcome on into the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A. That's right here on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter channels. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberFire.com, here to answer your questions for the next 25 minutes. Happy Memorial Day weekend to all of you in advance. Hopefully you have some fun things lined up for this weekend. Unfortunately, we can't really send you out on a high note because tonight's slate is pretty gross. What we'll do for today is take your questions, whether you're watching on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter. We'll get those questions in about pitching, weather, stacks, one-offs, whatever is on your mind. Get those questions in. We'll take them live here on the air to get you set for tonight's slate. Before we do that, though, quick programming note. We will not have a Q&A on Monday due to Memorial Day. I'm not going to be here, so we won't be here. We'll be back again on Tuesday, regular time, 3:30 for Brandon's Q&A for PGA. I'll be back here at 4 for MLB, and we'll be there live every other weekday next week besides Monday. So let's take a look at this Friday main slate and the diciness around it, because if we go over here to the Roto Grinders weather page, you're going to see there's a lot of gross colors on here. And already one game postponed. That is the Brewers and the Nationals. That game has been postponed. Don't worry about that game. Other games likely to be postponed based on what Kevin Roth says over at Roto Grinders. The Mets and the Braves. Looks like it's in a rough spot. I like Ian Anderson there, but not going to waste your time talking about him here because that game's probably not going to play. And then the Red Sox and the Marlins also looks fairly gross. The other games should play. This game is not in the main slate. Don't worry about that. But other games should play. The big note here is that the weather in Toronto or weather in Cleveland for the Blue Jays in Cleveland looking pretty nasty, not just from a rain perspective, but also because it's lower temperatures, winds blowing in from right field. I was looking at the, I've been to Progressive Field. I don't know why I had to look at the picture of this, but I did. Looking at the layout of Progressive Field to see what the stands looked like. And there are grandstands in right field, right down the foul line. My hope would be that would block some of the wind and keep things a bit more tempered from a wind perspective and trying to impact balls in play. That's why I'm still good stacking the Blue Jays. I am going to bump them down my list from where I had them this morning in the solo shot. They're my number one stack. I will move them down to number 3, but I think they deserve to be number 3 despite the gross weather. So I will downgrade them, but they're still, to me, a good stack for tonight. That's what we're thinking about with stacks, with weather. The main pitching concern of the weather was Garrett Cole. Looks like that game is okay. So to me, that means Garrett Cole is the number one pitcher on tonight's slate. He is facing off with the Detroit Tigers. And as you can see here, Cole has been just unreal this season. 2.12 skill interactive ERA, 39% strikeout rate, 3% walk rate. Facing the Tigers have a 27% strikeout rate versus righties, 88 WRC plus. He checks every box. Now, if you look at Cole's game log, you'll see the strikeouts haven't necessarily been there over the past 2 starts, and maybe you don't want to blow 10-2 on a guy who's not getting strikeouts right now. That could be a potential rebuttal you may have. But I don't think it's that concerning. When I'm looking to see if a pitcher is deviating from what he's done, I look at velocity, look at pitch mix, and look at swing and strike rate. Those things for Cole are still fine. His velocity was actually up in his most recent start. And you'll see here at the pitch mix, he has cut down a bit on his slider usage, cut down a bit on his changeup usage. He's throwing more four-seam fastballs, but it's not a major deviation. So like when I'm pulling my most relevant sample, I don't see anything to me that says I should not go with the full 10 games for Garrett Cole. Still got swinging strikes in that game against Texas too. So to me, that says he is healthy. And if Garrett Cole is healthy, he's good. He's $12,200. That is definitely high salaried, but we can get there for today. We'll talk about routes to getting there in just a bit. First, let's go to Facebook and take a question from Nick. What to do at catcher today? Any sleepers? Nick, you got to play on FanDuel where you don't have to use a catcher, first of all. But just in theory, hypothetically, if you wanted to use a catcher, which I do fairly often, don't blame me, Nick. I totally get it. I think one guy who does stand out is Yasmani Grandal. He is facing Matt Harvey. Grandal is a switch hitter, which means he'll be batting lefty against Matt Harvey, and we want lefties versus Harvey. Righties are fine too, but lefties definitely benefit more against Harvey than others. Let's see if he's in there. He's not playing. Oh, wait, he's batting second. Woohoo, okay. I was a little worried there for a second. He's batting second. Andrew Vaughn batting third. That is very interesting. Got Jake Lamb batting sixth. That means there is no Yoan Moncada for today. That's a bummer. I love Moncada against righties, so no Moncada for today. That stinks, but having Vaughn bat third is very interesting. So let's take a look here at the White Sox versus righties and see what we've got with Andrew Vaughn specifically, because batting third gets my attention. I've been using Vaughn a lot against lefties, have not been using as much against righties, but batting third changes the equation. So 100 plate appearances, 25% strikeout rate, 29% hard hit rate, 31% fly ball rate. We prefer Vaughn versus lefties, but that's like not terrible. So I think that Vaughn would still work. So I'm okay with Vaughn, prefer Grandal among the, I guess he's not lower salaried. No Adam Eaton for today. Again, I kind of thought that he might play with that hamstring injury, but he's not in there. So for value, Yermin Mercedes probably going to be a guy we turn to. Let's check out Jake Lamb over here. Only 43 plate appearances, but good numbers. So I would say that Jake Lamb, a good value play within this White Sox team to make it more affordable to get to Garrett Cole. Let's go over to Facebook or YouTube here. Michael is asking, are the White Sox your top stack now? And I mentioned that I'm moving the Blue Jays down to third. I'm keeping the White Sox too. The reason that the shift occurs is I've kind of been thinking about it throughout the day. Like, should I have thought about this before the solo shot this morning? Yes. Should I have known this before then? Yes. Did I? No. So I'm going to go with the Diamondbacks number one. It's a combination of a couple of things. And this actually ties into a question that Brian asked over on Facebook, asking for some good value plays for tonight. I think most of the good value plays are on Arizona, facing Johan Oviedo. Oviedo is a guy who profiles as someone who won't get strikeouts, let up some walks, let up some hard contact, and that's what we want. And the Diamondbacks have a lot of really low salaries among relevant hitters we want to use. Ketel Marte, $3,200. Eduardo Escobar, $2,700. Pavin Smith is $26,000. David Peralta, $25,000. Josh Rojas, $23,000. So you can build out a really good stack with the Diamondbacks and still have plenty of salary to get to Garrett Cole. Let's actually build this out here just for funsies. I feel like it ties in well with Brandon was asking. What Brian is asking over on Facebook about which value plays we want to use. Let's just build a hypothetical stack here with Arizona. We'll pull up their numbers versus righties this year to see whom we want to prioritize. If we want to use proper grammar, kind of don't because it's Friday before Memorial Day, but whatever, we'll do it. Okay, so Eduardo Escobar, 48% fly ball rate, good ISO, sick. I'm in. So we're going to go El Caballo, Eduardo Escobar, at third base, because I'm probably going to want Marte. And at second base, there we go. Got Escobar there. Peralta, not a big fly ball guy. Never really has been. Josh Rojas, not a big fly ball guy either, but more power for him than stolen base juice. He fills shortstop, so we're going to go Rojas at shortstop as well. Then we have 29.67 left. Okay, we're building towards it here. Let's see what Marte has done when he's been healthy. Low fly ball rate, but still some good power. So I'd like to get there. I would say that I don't need to get there necessarily, just because I am trying to scrounge for some salary savings. The salary focus for me allows me to get you Peralta at $2,500, despite the fact that he's not lifting the ball as much as I would like. So to me, I think we're deciding for this fourth spot in the stack between Marte and Smith. So let's go over here to the numbers. Check out Smith versus righties. 146 ISO, low strikeout rate, 29% fly ball rate, 38% hard hit rate. Marte, so like the long term, I know Marte is going to be the better option. I'd be okay with either. Like if using Smith over Marte is the difference between getting like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. or Jose Abreu in there, then I'm okay taking Smith. But if you had the salary to get to Marte, all things equal, I would take Marte there. So to me, I think most likely, given how much of a salary crunch I expect to be in today, I think I'll probably be looking at Smith over Marte. But between these guys, you've got 4 really good value plays, Brian, you can turn to who have some upside for tonight. So I do like them quite a bit. And answer your question, Michael, Diamondbacks now number 1 for me from a stacking perspective. Victor, any tips on how to tackle a slate with this much weather news up in the air? Pray? I don't know, like whatever like you need to do. I think that for me, it's all about risk tolerance and trying to decipher how much risk you are okay taking on. I think that based on the way things stand right now, I think we have a pretty good read where for my risk tolerance, I tend to be fairly okay with risk. So take that as like the base point. As someone who is okay with risk, I am crossing off Miami, Boston, crossing off Atlanta in New York. I am assuming every other game will play for tonight just because that's kind of the read that Kevin had over Roto Grinders, and I tend to trust his stuff quite a bit. So to me, that says I'm assuming Toronto, Cleveland plays. I'm assuming Baltimore, Chicago plays. I am downgrading them as a result of the weather. But as you can see here, as we go over to the hitting tab, there are only 2 games for tonight with a projected first pitch temperature of more than 67 degrees. That means I don't need to downgrade those 2 games as much as I usually would. It means I should prioritize the Diamondbacks, be interested in the Cardinals, although they're facing Bumgarner, so I don't really want to go there. But like from a weather perspective, that's interesting. That is my thought process there. I don't need to downgrade them as much because the relative temperature there compared to the rest of the slate is not that bad. So what I would say, Victor, is care about wind, care about temperature, but don't overreact to it. And I would say from a delay perspective and a postponement perspective, we could be okay, assuming every game plays outside of the one that's postponed, in addition to Mets, Braves, and Marlins, Red Sox. Hopefully that helps, Victor, but I think that's kind of the way I'm thinking about things for tonight, just because that's the way it shakes out right now. That could change before 7, before lock. So check back on that stuff later. But as of right now, that's the way I'm feeling with things. Sonny, what would be your best windy games for batters? So I don't think most of the games are beneficial from a wind perspective for batters. We do have the wind almost blowing out in Detroit, but it's not. It's kind of more of a crosswind. I don't think that's an upgrade for anyone. So I'm not going to worry about Cole there. Not going to upgrade the Yankees either. And Mize has been pretty good recently, so I'm okay being, more tepid with that, 48 degrees as well. For Cleveland versus Toronto, again, there are bleachers in right field that may block that a bit. That does help. I don't think any of the games are blowing out. Or not out. I think Oakland's out at 9 miles per hour, but Oakland's cold, 53 degrees. I'm not going to value that as being an upgrade. So I would say no one's really getting bumped up as a result of wind with regards to hitters. It's only bumping down. The biggest bump down is to the Blue Jays in Cleveland for today. Let's go to Facebook. DJ is asking, Randy Dobnak, Anthony DeSclafani, or Martin Perez? Perez is a game that I'm probably assuming is not going to play, so we'll cross him off. Randy Dobnak does not get strikeouts, so we'll cross him off. DeSclafani is facing the Dodgers. DeSclafani this year, this is a 6-start sample on him with his slot usage being up. He's throwing it 41% of the time. He has a 22% strikeout rate, 7% walk rate, 8% barrel rate. That's not quite high enough for me to feel confident using him against the Dodgers. I've actually used pitchers versus Los Angeles more often recently than I have in the past, just because they've had so many injuries, but I don't want to go there. So personally, DJ, if I could say no to all 3, I would. If you were forcing me to pick, which is totally fair, go ahead, do your thing. I would say DeSclafani is number 1 there, but my level of confidence in DeSclafani is very, very low because he doesn't get enough strikeouts, facing a very good team. He's on the road. They might have just seen him. I'm pretty sure DeSclafani's most recent start just came against the Dodgers. Let me check that, though, because I don't want to. Again, we value truth. Facts here because they totally matter for MLB DFS. Yeah, face the Dodgers last time out, so I am okay not being super high DeSclafani. If you are looking for a value pitcher, like a lower salary guy, the 2 guys who I think are at least interesting is not the biggest endorsement, and that's intentional. The two guys who are at least interesting there for lower salaries are Madison Bumgarner and then Sean Manaya. Manaya's in a back-to-back start again, too. He's facing the Angels. Not a huge strikeout guy. Got 5 or 6 strikeouts the first time he faced the Angels last time out. So not a huge strikeout guy, but he's $7,100. If you want a value play, I'd rank him above DeSclafani. Bumgarner, tough spot because the Cardinals they have a lot of righties, and he's not as good against righties as lefties, obviously. But since his velocity increased, still a 24% strikeout rate for Bumgarner versus righties. So if you're looking just for a value play, DJ, I would go with Bumgarner or Manaya over Dobnak, DeSclafani, and I forgot Perez for tonight. So Perez game will not go. Michael, if you could only use one, Anderson or Abreu, who would you choose? So I'm assuming this is Tim Anderson. There are a lot of Andersons, but I'm assuming it's Tim because it's the White Sox. Let's pull up the numbers here versus righties. I love using Tim Anderson. The reason I'm going to pick Abreu is because Anderson tends to really show upside more so versus lefties and righties. Also, he's not fully healthy. I forgot what the nature of the injury was for him, but he missed yesterday's game. Let's find Tim Anderson here. Check out what the injury was. Because if it's like an upper body injury, then I'm not going to worry as much. It's his thumb. Okay, he's fine. So I was worried he might not steal, but it sounds like he will. 7 stolen bases against righties, 171 ISO, 33% hard hit rate, 21% fly ball rate. Abreu, 189 ISO, no steals. So if I'm choosing one there, I don't know. I think you could make the case for either. I probably would go Abreu just because I want the homers. The case for Anderson is that he gets steals. Harvey is doing better limiting hard contact, so you want a guy who can generate upside without hitting the ball out of the park. Also, it's a cooler stadium for tonight, so maybe it actually is Anderson. I'm going to change my mind, Michael. Going Anderson. Tim Anderson over Jose Abreu for tonight. I talked myself into it. We'll go Tim Anderson over Abreu because of the weather combined with the fact that I'm not super worried about that injury for him for today. Let's go back to Facebook here and talk to Jerry. Good day, Jim. Good day, Jerry. I have Minnesota, Houston, and Arizona as my top stacks. What do you think? I have Madison Bumgarner as my pitcher against St. Louis. Okay, so Minnesota is facing Chris Bubic. I'm okay with them for sure. The one word of caution I would say is that Bubic does a good job of limiting hard contact. He's at 3.6%. This was as a starter last year, I believe. Oh, sorry, this is for longer outings. So ever since his pitch count went up, I think 2 were in relief, and then the last 2 have been starts. 3.6% barrel rate. He's a good ground ball guy, or at least like above average. And I'm pretty sure his barrel rate last year was like 7-ish%, which is about average, but he's been better than that this year as well. 4.7% overall this year, 8.1% last year, 47% ground ball rate, 53% this year. So I do think the Twins are a decent option, but it is cold weather there. Bubic good at keeping the ball on the ground, limits hard contact. So I would say the Twins okay, but not like stars for today. The Astros facing Dinelson Lamet. The numbers I have for Lamet are his 5 outings. He's probably going to go like max of 55 to 60 pitches. So then you're facing the Padres bullpen. Let's pull up the Padres bullpen numbers here. We'll go to Fangraphs, team pitching staff, pitching stats for 2021. We will click on relievers, and we're going to click on active roster to get just the guys who are currently with the team. Go over to advanced numbers and check out what the Astros have from a skill interactive ERA perspective. If I can find the Astros. All right, Houston. San Diego. What am I talking about? Wrong team, Jim. You dummy. Okay, San Diego has a 2.52 bullpen ERA, 3.11 skill interactive ERA. So that tells me that they're bulk relievers. They're the guys who are going longer out of the bullpen are probably pitching pretty well. Let's check out the guys with the most innings here from a relief perspective. Pretty good across the board. So I would not be super high in Houston. I think that, Lamet should be pretty effective when he's out there, and then the bullpen should be pretty effective too. So Houston lower on my list. Arizona, I mentioned before, they're my top stack for today. So very on board with them. On board with the Diamondbacks. Okay with the White Sox. Not super into the Astros personally for tonight. Kyle, do you like Kyle Tucker? Two Kyles here. I like it. Do you like Kyle Tucker or Randall Grichuk as a one-off? I like Grichuk a lot. Grichuk is pretty fun. I know the numbers this year are not like dazzling, but hey, he's a handsome dude. We can root for handsome dudes. I'm fine with that. Also, he hits the ball in the air. A lot good fly ball numbers at a Randall Grichuk versus righties this year. Check out I think it's 39% for Grichuk versus righties. It is 39%, 31% our hit rate. 146 ISO is not like elite by any means, but he gets you fly balls. He gets you access to a really good batting order. 31.75 left in this Cole lineup with a Diamondback stack. That's going to allow you to get Grichuk. If you put Grichuk in there, there's a chance you can get Vlad with Cole, and I'd love to do that. So I think that Grichuk, a really good one-off for today. Let's go back to Facebook and talk to DJ. Stack San Diego against Houston or Minnesota against KC. So San Diego's facing Framber Valdez. He is another guy coming back from the injured list. He's probably going to be limited to around 75 or so pitches tonight. He went, I think it was 40-something and 50-something in his two. Yeah, 47-54 in his two AAA outings. So he'll probably go 75 or so pitches tonight. That's not enough for us to use him in DFS, but it's like long enough where we can expect him to be out there. Valdez in those rehab starts didn't get a lot of strikeouts, didn't get a lot of whiffs, but he also was still effective. Last year, Valdez pitched really well, got a lot of ground balls. So to me, I would say I'm not super into stacking San Diego tonight, despite the fact I know Valdez will not be out there all that long. 75 pitches is enough to definitely still factor him in there. So to me, not super into San Diego, and I'm okay with the Twins facing off with Bubic. So I would say Twins over the Padres for sure for me. Diffuse over on YouTube. What's up, Diffuse? How do you feel about the Mariners as a contrarian value stack? Into it. Talked about them today this morning on the solo shot as being a good option. Facing Jordan Lyles, he's been better recently at suppressing hard contact, getting the barrel rate down, but still a guy who lets up hard contact, lets up balls in play. As you can see here, a 4.73 skill interactive ERA. Mariners aren't great, but they have some value guys. Braves, Mets postponed. Yeah, figured that stinks. Ian Anderson, we'll talk to you some other time, babe. We will definitely be rostering him at some point in the near future, but oh well. Whittles down our pitching list for tonight. We knew that was going to happen, so alas. Okay, the Mariners against Jordan Lyles. Lyles is going to let up balls in play, so we can go with the Mariners here. I want to pull up the Mariners numbers, do a little check-in on Jared Kelenic to see what he's done. The sample has gotten a little bit bigger because he's $2,400 facing Lyles. He's a lefty. We like all these things. So far, Kelenic has a 200 ISO, 18% strikeout rate. He has a steal, 44% fly ball rate. Why is he $2,400? I know the results have not been great, but he's really good. So I'm into it. I feel very good about a Mariner stack for today. And they're similar to the Diamondbacks in that they allow us to make it easier to get to Garrett Cole. So the lineup not in yet, I'd assume. I'm not even going to check because it's so far out west. But we're going to put Kelenic in there first. I'm going to go with Kyle Seager as well. He's $2,800. Then we'll choose between... We do want to favor the lefties, but I'm okay with the righties here. So do we want Haniger against a righty? Yes, we do. Do we want Kyle Lewis against a righty? Meh. I think I want to go, Haniger's pretty high salaried, so not like he's going to help in our salary saving quest. I'll just do both. Why not? Let's do it. So we'll go with both here, and we'll get Kyle Lewis in there. $2,950. They're not as big of salary savers as the Diamondbacks are, but still enough to help us out. So I would say yes to Fuse. I am on board with a Mariners stack for today. Specifically, Kelenic and Seager as being salary savers, guys who I do think should be pretty good for tonight. Let's go back to Facebook and talk to Jerry. How do you think Mize will fare against the Yankees? Mize is interesting. The sample I have for him is his 5 starts with his velo scaled back. So he came out of the year, was really popping the radar gun, but it wasn't working out. He scaled back his velocity over his past 5 starts, and in that time, 4.52 skill interactive ERA, 21% strikeout rate, 11% walk rate, 8% barrel rate. Those numbers are better than where he was at earlier this year. Let's dig into the results here and also look at the teams that Mize has faced in that time. I, for some reason, did not link this in my notes. So we'll copy and paste like some plebes here. All right. Casey Mize over his past 5 starts. Let's check out the ERA. He has a 2.25 ERA facing Kansas City, Seattle, Kansas City, Boston, Chicago. So Boston, Chicago, good teams. And against them, he's still fared pretty well. Just 4 total earned runs. He's had a quality start in all 5 of these. That's pretty good. Also, the temperature there is lower. So, Jerry, I'm guessing that you were asking because you were considering stacking the Yankees. I don't want to put words in your mouth, so I'm not trying to do that. But like, if people in general, we'll not put words in Jerry's mouth. If people in general are considering stacking the Yankees, I would not do so because the temperature is low. Mize look good. If Jerry was asking to use Mize as a pitcher, I probably also wouldn't quite get there because the strikeout rate's not quite high enough. The Yankees, not a super high strikeout team. They're not a low strikeout team, but also not an outlier. So I would say it's a stay away spot for me where I don't want to stack against him, but I don't want to use Mize as a pitcher for today. So a stay away spot effectively. As far as game selection goes for tonight, because we haven't had any questions about this, I would say it's a good night to go with single entry because there aren't a lot of pitchers I want to use. Let's actually lop off the Mets-Braves game here because Ian Anderson is tempting me by staying on the sheet. We'll just do this. There we go. All right. Once we take off Anderson, we've basically got like Cole and Buehler as guys I want to use. But even Buehler to me is not the most appealing. I actually think the under on his strikeout prop is enticing. It's 7.5. And the reason I think the under is enticing is because A, he's facing the Giants for a second consecutive start, and B, we talked a lot about Buehler this year for his cutter usage, and he was letting up a lot of hard contact, and that's why you see the home runs here, but getting strikeouts. I don't think he liked the hard contact, so you see in his past 2 starts, the cutter usage has gone back in the tank, and so have these strikeouts. He's had 5 and 7, I believe, or is it 5? 7 and 5 strikeouts in those 2 starts, facing the Giants for a second consecutive start. They just saw him, and the reason I don't think the cutter usage will go back up is because he's been effective. So expecting the strikeouts to stay low for Walker Buehler, and that to me says, like, I'm fine with him. He's very effective. He's probably the second best pitcher on the slate, but I think that the gap between Cole and him is significant. So to me, it's Garrett Cole, massive Grand Canyon size gap, everybody else for tonight. And that's why I think that single entry is in play for today. I think that whittling it down to Cole, finding ways to stack him via the Twins, Diamondbacks, Mariners, whatever it may be, that'll be the way I want to play things for tonight. That is all the time that we have here for today on the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A. As mentioned, no show on Monday due to Memorial Day. I think lock will be early for that one. So if you're playing, make sure you tune in early for that. No solo shot either. So nothing coming up Monday. Back again with our regular schedule on Tuesday. So make sure you are subscribed to the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, or Twitter pages. Also, make sure you hit the like button if you're watching YouTube because that does help us out quite a bit. We appreciate those of you who have done so already. If you have additional questions for me, I am on Twitter at JimSannes, JimSannes. Big thank you to Andy Puente, our video manager, for controlling the video side of things here for today. Thank you, Andy, as always, and thank you to everyone for tuning in. Happy Memorial Day to all of you. Have a fantastic weekend. We'll talk to you once again next week. This has been the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A.